We are good to go on Zoom. Perfect. So I appreciate you for doing this, Keith. Thank you for doing the podcast. Why don't you let everyone know a little bit about yourself? I've known you for a few years, but let us know a little bit about yourself and kind of what you're working on, and we can jump into a conversation here.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you so much, Hamilton, for inviting me to this. We've been trying to get this together for a while, so we're both busy in our world. So thank you for this, and we're both 757, so it's just great to connect with someone that's from my home town, and we're both in the fashion space. So yeah, my name is Keith Fraley, and I'm a PhD candidate at Cornell University. I am in the process or not in the process, I've just recently started, will be starting a new job at Fashion Institute of Technology as a tenure track assistant professor within the fashion business management program rather. And I've been within the fashion space. I'm a fashion nerd. I'm very passionate about the fashion spaces and how we operate within those parameters. And I think this conversation is really important to me because we, get together as Black men to be able to unpack what that means to us and how we can play into those spaces. So that's really why I was geared towards doing this conversation. And I think that we have to keep having these types of conversations. But yeah, that's the quick version of me. I can unpack a lot more about who I am, but I think that's enough for now.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. So you covered a lot there. Let's go back, I guess. Like, what was your earliest memory with fashion? Like, what was like the spark for you?
How do they say it?
So for me, it was my family. It was my mother and father. They were very into using that as a creative outlet for themselves. One funny story, during every Thanksgiving, we would get together on Black Friday and we would drive to maybe, I don't know if anyone knows Potomac Mills. We would go to an outlet together, and it was really a platform where we could get together as a family. We could get together to be able to connect with each other. We all like shopping. We didn't necessarily have to buy anything, but it was just the space where I could really connect and we could connect as a unit. We still today can go to a local store, and I mean my entire family, like my grandmother, my aunt, my sister, my cousin. We would all meet either at Lynn Haven Mall, which is here in Virginia Beach area. And that was just a place where it was about, for me, about connecting with people, about connecting with family, about connecting. And that was, I could go and my father would be in the menswear department, let's say at Nordstrom, and he would be looking through, the suiting or dress shirt. And that would be a time that I could go in and have a really one-on-one intimate conversation with my father, which is really ironic in a way, but it just worked for us. He really loved clothing, and that was at a young age, and that's where really I started to engage with how much clothing can have an impact on individuals, on people, and I saw within my own family unit. But also, of course, outside of that, my father and mother, they love, as they like to say, put it on and like to get dressed. And I just really engaged with that. And that's where fashion started for me. And then I kind of spearheaded from that standpoint. But that's really where it started for me in that space.
Yeah, no, that's good. And like, when did you start to change the mindset, or how did you develop the mindset? Because I feel like for me, like I worked in retail stores and I always wanted to work in stores. Like I wanted to work in the mall, and
Yeah.
I was too young. Like I was underage, so I couldn't actually do it. My mom didn't want me to do it, all that. And then
Mhm.
eventually I got to a point where I was in there working, but then there's like something that kind of switched for me where I wanted to contribute. Um, I don't even know if like it was a switch more so, but it was just like a thought process of like I wanted to contribute more to what was going on. I wanted to make something. Um, and
Mm.
in your case, you know, you're going to be actually like facilitating and educating. So I guess
Right.
like when did that part happen for you? Like when did you have the epiphany that like, oh, I can actually teach this stuff?
So great question. So a lot of people that want to start in fashion, a lot of them end up going the direction, I want to be a fashion designer. I want to make clothing. And I did go down that road once before. So I've put on my own fashion show. I've done my own design. And let me tell you that I realized that was not my forte. I realized that creating the product at the sewing machine, creating or dealing with a manufacturer, developing, the potential patterns and tack pack and samples. I realized that that wasn't for me. Going through that process, designing. So I realized that at that moment that I to transition into something else, and that's when I really went to the business side of fashion. So product development, supply chain operations, marketing, not really on the side of creative director, designer. So that wouldn't really, when I, at an early age, and I think this happened around high school, middle school, high school, shortly thereafter. I mean, that is when I realized that that transition was happening for me. I thought I was really going to go into the fashion design space. Retail, I think, is a great entryway into the fashion industry, and that's exactly what I did. Once I realized that design wasn't it. One of my major first retail roles was when I was at Nordstrom's when they actually opened up in downtown Norfolk. I started working there, and that was really, I was there for about 8 years, and that was a big entryway into understanding the retail sector of the fashion business. And, I got promoted quite a few times and moved to different states with that. So I was able to really learn the operations with that. And then moving from that, I was able to go into other like product development role I had, account executive, things of that nature. So to answer your question, I really learned at an early age that that transition from design, from a fashion designer and going into and you also asked about teaching. That has been the underlying layer throughout the whole process. Like I've always have been eager to learn more about fashion, and as you know, and your business is a testament of this, the fashion industry is enormous. There's so many different moving parts. So I was really intrigued to learn as much as I could within that. So learning about sustainability, learning about supply chains. I was fortunate enough to have those types of roles, but also I was getting education at the same time. So I was working during the day, and then I would go to school at night. So I was always intrigued to do that. And that is how I got, that's why I was enticed to start the PhD program in fashion studies at Cornell, because I was able to get a deeper understanding of what the fashion system is. So having that journey, it was a natural progression for me to now just be able to take what I actually physically have experienced and now be able to teach other individuals, other creative minds, to be able to do that type of work. And I look forward to it. And I have had to teach quite a few years at Cornell. So I realized I had a good connection with the students to be able to do that. And so, yeah, that's where the transition is. And I think a lot of it is trial and error. You go and you figure out what works for you, what doesn't. But yeah, teaching is where what God had me to be, and I'm so excited about it.
And what did you learn at Nordstrom?
Wow, so a lot. Nordstrom taught me a lot, man. Like Nordstrom's about customer service, how to engage with the our customer base is always, regardless of what type of business anyone has, entrepreneurship, or if you're in a major corporation, is always about the customer, right? And Nordstrom really taught me about the root of that, about what um servicing and giving, rolling out the red carpet for them. Outside of that, also about just the how to be an effective manager, your sales, your sell through, your inventory turnover. Uh, yeah, it was. I would say the bulk of what I've learned through the retail sector, Nordstrom, and a shout out to Nordstrom. They are amazing, an amazing organization. And it really helped me to get to where I am today. So, yeah, there's a lot to learn. Merchandising strategies, how to engage with your employees, how to keep your sell. What do they call it? I forget the but making your goals, things of that nature. But the biggest component is service, and that still carried over to today and in the classroom. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. What is the curriculum teaching about sustainability right now?
Sustainability, that is about, there's still a lot more room for to learn in that space. But when sustainability is broad, so one of the big things that we've been teaching students is about the basics. A lot of them are really engaged with things like Poshmark, Depop, Macari, different platforms that how individuals are looking at product differently. How can you, instead of going to a traditional retail platform, how can you take secondhand product and potentially use that and market that in different ways? That's one part of sustainability, about taking thrift clothing and reselling it in a desirable platform, and that's been growing tremendously within that. Then you have sustainability like you're doing, like exactly the platform of how you have your business set up with that. Is yes, that shout out to Hamilton Perkins and all of his upcycle bags. And that's how we connected, actually, in a way, when you had your retail store within that. So that would be some of the ways that we're teaching them in the curriculum for sustainability. And it's much more in depth in that. Would you agree with that, or what else would you add to that?
No, I think it's well said. I mean, sustainability is very broad. I think part of it, and I'm out here in California where it's very top of mind, and I'm in these rooms, and what I'm
And
getting,
it looks like the weather is beautiful over there.
yeah, this is like the best day probably since I've been here in the past like 2 or 3 weeks. But what I'm getting when I'm in these rooms is like, and this is coming from sustainability executives, directors of sustainability at companies, are like, number one, we don't necessarily have it right. Like, we're not necessarily saying we're the best or that we're doing it right. But what we're saying is basically we're still like, it's out for debate or still like up for grabs on like what a standard is regarding sustainability as it relates to like broadly speaking about sustainability. Because to your point, is there more of an impact of basically reselling something that's already in the world, and you're just, like you say, Macari, someone buys, insert brand name, once, and then they resell it, and then someone else buys it, and then they enjoy it, then they resell it. Is that a lower kind of like carbon impact than, maybe something else, like just simply making that garment, making that item from the ground up from like a sustainable textile. You know, I see a lot of companies that are getting funded for taking clothing and turning it into a brand new textile. Is that a more does that have more impact and help the environment more? You know, people that are at risk from the environment, does that help more? You know, it's still like kind of up and out for debate. What we've done is we've started to carbon account for what our product is and what it does. So like for one of our bags, we can tell you that it's going to be about 12 kilograms of carbon per bag that's made with the materials that we make it from when it's kind of produced at our furthest point, which would be, you know, kind of like overseas and then kind of coming here to the US to get distributed.
That's dope, Hamilton.
But if you, thank you. But if you really just make it from, let's say, virgin material, like let's say a cotton or something that is like, you know, just leather, it would be probably 20 kilograms of carbon emission. So we save about 5 to 8-ish kilograms by doing the work that we do with the product. And the same thing with our latest products, which are these shirts that are upcycled. We're taking recycled t-shirts that normally wouldn't sell. And, you know, we're basically turning them into and we're taking
I love it.
sewing them back together. And then we're taking fabric signs, textile fabric signs. This one's from our client, the Virginia Stage Company back home, the Wells Theater. And
oh, yes.
accent.
That looks familiar.
Yeah, so that's the accent. So these produce about 1 kilogram of carbon emission, and there's a savings as well. So, you know, we're still kind of tweaking and working to find ways that we can make this product more sustainable. But I always like this, you know, this is a long-winded answer, but I like the whole idea. You know, I feel like if you can start the conversation, well, now that leads to someone else that might like maybe make another choice when it comes to you know, a car choice. Maybe they decide to go with an electric car instead of a gas car on the next purchase, or maybe they decide to, you know, implement some kind of solar panel, you know, in their home. Maybe they decide to just support more small brands that are doing different, you know, projects out of materials, which then kind of grows the whole ecosystem. And inevitably, you know, some things are going to be more sustainable. You know, shopping small in general can be more sustainable. So it's a complex answer. I've been working in this field for a few years, and it doesn't necessarily seem like there's a real answer clear in sight. But I think, you know, the point is just taking a step, taking action, and, you know, not like waiting to have something just pop out of the sky and just, you know, happen. You have to kind of be the change you want to see. So as cliche as that sounds.
But that's what it is, and your answer makes sense because I think that's essentially what sustainability is in a way. It's still being we're still learning about it, it's still being unpacked as you go along. But I think the one common thing that is that a lot of fashion companies have a clear understanding of is that it needs to be a part of their corporate strategy within their business in some capacity. And it has to be not just a dot, but much larger than that. And I think that the corporations are seeing that. So that's why, but it's more about how, in what way, in what capacity. You just talk about carbon emission. That's one part of all of sustainability, right? So it's like what part of, well, it is a big part, but it's that amongst other things. So I think it's a matter of, I don't think it's going anywhere, but I think that the language and the conversation is still continuing to be talked about. And as we go along, you keep refining it on what it is. So the sustainability of what it is today is drastically different than it was even like 5 or 7 years ago, but it's improving as we go along. So I think that's what it is. And then some people pick what part of sustainability that is for them. I've seen it in the classroom for students that want to start sustainable businesses. Each one of them start in different spaces. One might start, as I stated, in the resale marketplaces like the Depop, etc. Another one might start in the platform of carbon emissions and how that might be. Another one might start in that way. So I think in a way, it's beautiful that you can be impactful in multiple ways. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's about like, where can you actually add value, pick a place, get to work, and that's kind of been our philosophy.
Yeah.
What would you say in your experience? 'Cause I'm always trying to figure this out. Who do you think is the most influential person in an organization when it comes to either, we'll say sustainability, but we'll say collaboration and like making decisions on bringing in brands. We talked a little bit about off camera about, like let's say a luxury brand wants to do a partnership and we see, I'm just going to make up something because I'm around the corner. I see, this Keith brand, they've got all the,
I love them.
yeah, just a amazing story, amazing brand, amazing store build outs. I mean, it's just so impressive. And then you see the collaboration and, you see the collaboration on the brand side that they're collaborating with. So let's say it's, a brand. Who's the most influential on those types of partnerships when, you see two brands, kind of continuously collaborate within the fashion space. Who's doing that? Who's making those decisions from either a product standpoint or from a or even even the sustainability standpoint?
That's a great question, and a shout out to Kiss. I admire their brand for sure and their store build out and their story. The first thing that I would say to that question is about the team. It's about I don't think it's actually precisely just one person. I think it's about a team collectively to build out that vision. Also within that team, it's about DEI, making sure that you have diverse individuals within there, including different viewpoints to help push something forward that have an understanding of the clear goal. You have, but I think all of them are important to some capacity. So if you're talking about like the C-suite type of individual, you have the chief sustainability officer, you have the chief merchandising officer, you have the chief supply chain officer, you have the different, the CEO, you have the vice president, you have the design team. All of those individuals are important, I think, to be able to execute the entire vision, right? It's because if you just have the chief sustainability officer, that's not enough to really execute a full product execution or a product, but they are an important piece of it. So I would say for me, it's about the entire team. And of course, at some point, it does start off with one person, but that one person usually, I'm not saying all the time, can't do it by themselves. You need, a collective unit to be able to keep pushing that brand idea together. So that's how I would respond to what would be that one person. I think it's that one team. Because like even with you, Hamilton, it's not you have you and multiple other people that are helping you get your vision executed. But you started the idea, but you needed that team to help get it executed out for you. So that's how I would say that's how I would see it building out from that on one particular person. I would just say one powerful team that is devoted to that vision and that mission of what you're trying to do.
No, that's great. And I'm still a student, so I still read, I still listen to podcasts and,
Me too.
what are some resources? What are some, give some information on, give some game on information where, if someone's sitting at home and they want to get more involved, they want to learn more, where would you send them? What are some resources that they should tap into?
So perfect. So I'm a student too. I will always be a student. I am a big resource of getting as much information as possible. So on almost on a daily, I am looking at news from things that the business of fashion, looking at, just the daily news about what's going on in the business. Things in that space I think is very important to really engage with. um the podcast, a couple podcasts that I definitely listen to is, of course, yours. I listen to yours, that's an automatic.
Sure.
But the future of fashion business, the business of fashion podcast. I like to listen to the Gucci podcast. It's also one by a good friend of mine. She called the Styled for Life podcast. You always have the Retail in America podcast by I think his name is Ron Thurston, I think his name is. So those are a couple podcasts that I like to listen to in the morning that are really helpful for me to engage. And then also in terms of like emails or platforms that I really like to engage with, things like the Fashion Law is really good. Fashion United, WWD, Luxury Daily, things along those. Retail Brew is another good one. But these are platforms that I like to engage with to be able to, stay on top of what's going on in the industry. So those are my top amongst others that I really engage with quite frequently. I'm trying to think, and then always staying up to date on, whatever magazine. Or I'm a very creative person as well. I'm not a designer, but I'm very creative in thought process. So I'm very image driven. So that is another source. I don't know if anyone has heard of a place called Upsplash. So I use Upsplash quite frequently. That is, I use that for a side business that we have, which is kind of like a resale platform. It's called Kina. For men and women, we do you. That's a whole nother thing. We can talk about that later. But I use Upsplash for my business and that's really helpful. Yeah, those are the first things that I think of that I use. Um, Also like the Laws of Style podcast. That's another one. I'm just shooting them out there as I'm thinking about it because I didn't really write it down, but those are the ones that come. What about you? What about you, Hamilton?
Oh man, I can't mess with your list. Your list is like, oh man. I mean, as far as podcasts, I've actually steered. I shouldn't be saying this as a podcaster. I've probably scaled back a little bit on podcasting.
Mhm.
As far as like listening and consuming,
Right.
for me, I think I've found a certain like pure information from like reading physical books, which is kind of
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah. Oh yeah, and of course I read books. I didn't say that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but I
So
do audiobook.
yeah, so I'll do physical with the audio, and I think what I found is like I'll try to like find a book that is cool, and I found one that I read. I think it was called what's it called? The World is on Fire, but we're still buying shoes. That was pretty good. Just
Oh, I
kind
can
of
write it. What is the name of it?
the world is on fire, but we're still buying shoes. I think the author is in Europe.
Okay, I
Uh,
gotta check that out. Okay.
and just kind of like because what I found for books, it's like, and I haven't written a book yet, but
Mhm.
being able to like just sit down and put your thoughts into like a book, whether it's a
Mhm.
certain, even if it's like 100 pages or 300
Mhm.
pages, 500 pages, it's like
Mhm.
that takes a certain amount of like discipline and time. And excuse me, there's less room, I feel like, to like kind of, posture or like, kind of share things in a certain way. And it's kind of like no fluff almost.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But I think there's, because like a lot of time, there's ads and these podcasts are selling, and that's fine because I need to buy stuff anyway. But sometimes it's just tougher for me to just sit down and like really with an open mind to learn to like sit and listen. But there's nothing wrong with them. I definitely, so I like that one. My favorite book of all time is still going to be Shoe Dog.
Oh yeah.
By Phil Knight.
The Nike one.
The Nike one. Yeah. That's just such a good,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever, it's going to be tough to touch that. As far as just like a
I
body.
can't wait for the movie to come out. Isn't the movie about to come out?
I don't see why there wouldn't be. There should.
I think there's one coming out soon with he just lost me with Jennifer Lopez new husband or boyfriend. That guy, he's the main actor. Ben Affleck is gonna be there's a new Nike movie coming out, and I'm kind of geeked out about it. So yeah.
No, 100%, and then, I've kind of moved into like,
and what we need to do when the movie comes out, we need to have like a little Instagram live and just talk about the movie.
No, I'm down. I'm always down to do it. I'm always up for conversation, getting the word out for sure. I looked at like podcasting, I looked at like YouTube as well. Like YouTube can be good. I like this company, or not company, but it's a channel. I think it's called Threaducation or Threaducation. And
okay.
They just break down like
Threaducation.
I think that's the name of it. They just break down like what do you call it? Like they'll just pick like anything. Like they'll pick Prada and they'll just break down for like 30 minutes to an hour, like the story of Prada, like from the inception. Or they'll break down like a style, they'll break down like Pharrell Williams, like his career, like as it relates to fashion. Or they'll break down shoot.
Oh no, the dogs are coming for you, man.
Yeah, they'll break down like a just like a someone that's in the space. So that's really good.
And it's on YouTube?
It's on YouTube, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, I gotta check that out. I like the name Threaducation.
Yeah, it's really good. I think just resources though. I like the Virgil Abloh had that. He had something called Free Game. So he put together almost like a course. And it was just, it was literally just like, here's how you can get blanks printed. Here's how you can make a logo. Here's how you can like sell. And he did some like mentorship videos too. And those were really good. I think it was like 2 to 3 brands where he just sat down and like gave them information and like audited what they were doing. It was just so much in those videos. Like, I don't know if I'm like the only person that saw it that way, but I just saw it. Like, I'll rewatch a lot of those and I literally pick up something different.
I gotta check it out. I haven't heard about Threaducation, but it sounds pretty dope. There's so much information out there that it's hard to filter through. But that one I think I would add to the list for sure. I just like the name itself, Threaducation.
Yeah, it's a really good name. And I think when it comes to just like fashion, I mean, I would say just buying courses too. So I've been like trying to find like more courses. So I found a course, it's like a little course that Parsons did with Complex. So they had one that was actually pretty good. It had a lot of like, known people in there, like giving, at least a section of a whole module. So I learned a lot from that.
That's dope.
Then getting out in the world too. And like,
that one.
I always encourage anybody, like, if you don't have your own podcast, not just for the sake of like the podcast itself and media property that you own, but like just having a podcast as a like networking tool and a tool to actually learn. Like, it's actually education in itself, because you can actually get people to, condense what they've done in a lifetime into 30 to 60 minutes, and you can pick out the pieces that you want and you can go back and relearn. So I actually learned a lot just from doing this myself, like just interviewing people. Sometimes I'll interview them, and I'm trying to get better at like actually recording, because sometimes I don't even record it. So that's kind of my word of the year is consistency. I just need to stay consistent and keep producing,
No.
recording, but you know, I can keep going on and on. But yeah, I've definitely taken courses. You know, I've joined some different groups here and there as well, just like, you know, different group coaching, mastermind courses or mastermind groups where you get together like every week, or you get together several times a week even, and there might be someone that comes in that like teaches specific things. And I had my own group for a little bit. Like I did a little beta test myself where I was getting people together that had products, and we were just meeting like every week, and we were just sharing what's working. You know, how are you getting sales? How are you marketing? What's working on Instagram right now? What's working on TikTok? What's working with you know, selling in bulk? What's working with selling individual product? And found that that was a really good model. So this year that will.
That's why I rock with you, Hamilton, because you keep it going and you just make it happen, and that is inspiring to me. I think that's so dope.
No, I appreciate it. So this year that'll come back. You know, I was just trying to see like, you know, could it work? Was there value in it? You know, I got really good testimonials from just, you know, the people that were on it. And so we'll start to like gear up for that more this year. So, you know, if you're watching this right now, probably by the time this comes out, you know, there will be a link at least. So, you know, just check the link in my bio, I'll say, and you know, you'll probably find more information about it. Anyway, those are resources. So,
and another one of my favorite books that I want to add to that, that I read a long time ago that I think is good for, it talks about the business side and an actual person. The name of it is called Always in Fashion by Mark Webber. This is one particular book that I read that really resonated with me. Someone that's not on the design side, but was on the business side in terms of leadership and management. He, in his words, started from the bottom and worked his way all the way up to CEO and worked for prominent luxury conglomerates. So that's one book that really I think I would add to the list to read, and I would probably put that one of my favorite books thus far. I have quite a few favorites, but that would be on the list of that called Always in Fashion by Mark Webber.
Mark Webber. Okay. Well, we're going to have you come in as like a guest lecturer too for our group, because we would bring in lecturers to talk to just from different companies, just share information. So that's really good. That's good.
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
So I think we covered a good amount here. I mean, let me know or let the group know, followers know, where can everyone follow you, and like if they want to get more information and, you know, just connect with you, where can they get in touch with you at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm definitely on social media. The two that you can probably engage with me with is on LinkedIn. Go to my LinkedIn profile, reach out to me. I like to help individuals that I can be of service to them if it works out with us. So you can definitely reach out in that way. The other platform is on Instagram at Keith A. Fraley. You can definitely reach me out in those ways. So those are the two ways, and definitely a classic email if you want to go that direction as well. And you should be able to find that on the LinkedIn platform or something of that way. So yeah, those are the two ways to definitely connect. I really, I could talk about this all day. I love talking about the fashion industry and its multi spaces that it has, and being able to, you know, to have a robust conversation about it. So this is good, and I hope this isn't the last time, Hamilton, and I look forward to, you know, doing it again for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you're doing something, well, you're going to be teaching at FIT in the summer, starting in the summer. So maybe we can get you in after, you know, you got your you got your feet planted well, and, you know, we can figure out either like a follow-up episode or something, you know, different. Maybe it's you know, some type of, you know, collaboration of information. Maybe I can talk about sustainability or something, and, you know, you can share information somehow, but, you know, we can figure that out. You know, that'll be great.
I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to, man. I'd be happy to. enjoy yourself over there in California. That's the weather looks, like I said earlier today, it looks way better than what it is over here. So
Yeah, today I think I got my return finally. It's been really like it's been very cloudy and rainy for like weeks. So
yeah.
I was just kind of, thinking that my return on investment with the weather was in the negative, but I think I got the ROI positive today. But thank you for doing this, and I'll sign out of here.